I still remember standing next to my brother Derek on his wedding day. I was his best man. We had been inseparable since childhood. He protected me from bullies in middle school. I helped him through his worst heartbreak. That day, watching him marry Brooke, I thought our bond was unbreakable. She looked perfect in her white dress, smiling at everyone like an angel. I had no idea that smile would be the beginning of my destruction. One lie from her lips would cost me everything. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If this story moves you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What she accused me of was so horrific that my own mother refused to look me in the eyes for 3 years. Let me tell you what happened. My name is Maurice, and I grew up in a middle-class family in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. My father, Frank, owned a small construction company that he built from nothing. My older brother, Derek, 4 years my senior, worked alongside our dad every day. I took a different path and became a software engineer at a tech company downtown. Despite our different careers, Derek and I remained close. Every Sunday, our whole family gathered at our parents' house for dinner. It was tradition. It was sacred. Our mother, Linda, took pride in keeping the family together. She cooked elaborate meals and made sure everyone showed up. Grandma Rose, our father's mother, lived with my parents in her final years. She was 82 years old, sharp as a tack, and she loved Derek and me more than anything in this world. She used to say we were her greatest joy. Derek and I had a bond that went beyond blood. When I was 14, a group of older kids cornered me after school. They wanted my lunch money and my dignity. Derek appeared out of nowhere even though he was supposed to be at football practice. He fought 3 of them and got a black eye for his trouble. That night, he told me something I never forgot. He said, "You are my brother, my best friend. Nothing will ever change that." I believed him completely. Years later, when Derek discovered his college girlfriend had been cheating on him for months, I was the one who sat with him through the darkest nights. I listened to him cry. I helped him move out of their shared apartment. I reminded him that he deserved better. We were brothers in every sense of the word. Then Brooke entered our lives. Derek met her at a construction site where her interior design firm was handling the finishing touches on a commercial building. He came home that night talking about a woman with the most beautiful smile he had ever seen. Within 2 weeks, they were dating. Within 8 months, he proposed. Everyone in the family was thrilled. Everyone except me. I could not explain my unease about Brooke. She was charming, attentive, and always said exactly what people wanted to hear. Too perfect, I thought. But I kept my doubts to myself because I had no proof of anything wrong. Just a feeling in my gut that something was off about her. One evening before the wedding, I walked past the guest room where Brooke was staying and heard her on the phone. Her voice was cold and sharp, completely different from the sweet tone she used with our family. She was arguing with someone about money, threatening them, her words dripping with venom. When she hung up and saw me in the hallway, her expression shifted instantly back to warmth. That smile returned like a mask sliding into place. It unsettled me deeply. The wedding was beautiful. I gave a speech about brotherhood and loyalty, about how Derek had always been my protector and my best friend. The guests cried. Derek hugged me. Brooke smiled that perfect smile. During the reception, she pulled me aside near the dessert table. Her words caught me off guard. She said, "You know, Derek always says you are the smarter one. That must be hard for him." I did not know how to respond. It felt like she was trying to plant seeds of jealousy or competition between us. I brushed it off and walked away. Later that evening, Grandma Rose pulled me into a quiet corner. Her eyes were serious behind her glasses. She grabbed my hand and whispered, "There is something about that girl I cannot put my finger on. Watch yourself around her, Maurice." I wanted to ask her what she meant, but someone called her name and the moment passed. I wish I had listened more carefully. After the wedding, things began to change. Derek called less often. When I visited, Brooke was always there, steering conversations, controlling the atmosphere. She started organizing family events, positioning herself as the new matriarch, even though my mother still lived and breathed. Small comments from Brooke began to chip away at my confidence. She would question my career choices in front of everyone, ask when I was going to settle down with subtle judgment in her voice, and compare my life unfavorably to Derek's, in ways that seemed innocent but felt calculated. 2 months after the wedding, my father Frank turned 58. My parents threw a party at their house with about 30 guests, family, neighbors, old friends. I arrived late because I got stuck in a work meeting that ran over. By the time I walked through the door, the party was in full swing. I greeted everyone, hugged Grandma Rose, and grabbed a plate of food. Everything felt normal. Then Brooke approached me with that smile. She said they needed more ice and asked if I could help her get some bags from the garage. I agreed without thinking. Why would I think anything of it? We walked to the garage together. I found the ice in the chest freezer, grabbed 2 bags, and turned to leave. The whole thing took maybe 2 minutes. Brooke thanked me, and we walked back inside separately. I did not think about that moment again for the rest of the night. I left around 11 and drove home to my apartment. The next morning, my phone rang at 7:15. It was Derek. His voice was shaking with rage and something else I could not identify. He demanded to know what I did to his wife. I had no idea what he was talking about. I asked him to calm down and explain. He screamed that Brooke had been crying all night. She told him I attacked her in the garage during the party. My blood turned to ice. I could not process what I was hearing. I told Derek that was insane, that nothing happened, that we only grabbed ice together. He would not listen. He told me to come to our parents' house immediately. I drove faster than I should have, my mind racing with confusion and fear. When I arrived at my parents' house, the scene that greeted me shattered something inside my chest. Brooke sat on the living room couch, sobbing into my mother's shoulder. My father stood near the fireplace with his arms crossed and his jaw tight. Derek paced back and forth like a caged animal ready to attack. The moment I stepped through the door, my father blocked my path. His eyes held a disgust I had never seen directed at me before. He asked me how I could do such a thing. His own brother's wife. I tried to tell him nothing happened. I tried to explain that we only went to get ice. No one would let me finish a sentence. Brooke lifted her tear-streaked face and pointed at me. Her voice trembled as she described things that never occurred. She said I grabbed her in the garage. She said I pushed her against the wall. She said I threatened to tell Derek that she had been flirting with me if she screamed. Every word was a lie, but she delivered them with such conviction that I almost doubted my own memory. My mother looked at me like I was a stranger, like I was a monster wearing her son's face. She said she raised me better than this. Those words cut deeper than any knife could. I kept trying to defend myself. I pointed out there was no evidence, no witnesses, no marks on her body. We were in the garage for 2 minutes at most. How could anything she described have happened in that time? No one cared about logic. No one wanted to hear reason. Derek charged at me and landed a punch square on my jaw. The force knocked me backward into the wall. My father pulled Derek away, but not to protect me. He was protecting his other son from assault charges. My mother screamed for me to leave. Grandma Rose stood in the corner of the room, her face troubled, her eyes meeting mine with something that looked like doubt. Doubt about Brooke's story, not about me. But she said nothing. In that house, in that moment, she had no power. I left with blood on my lip and my world collapsing around me. Over the following weeks, the destruction of my life accelerated beyond anything I could have imagined. Someone sent an anonymous email to my company's human resources department, describing my alleged behavior at a family gathering. The details matched Brooke's accusations too closely to be coincidence. My employer placed me on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. 2 weeks later, they terminated my employment to protect the workplace environment. I had worked there for 6 years. I had stellar performance reviews and strong relationships with my colleagues. None of it mattered. The rumors spread through our social circles like wildfire. Friends I had known since college stopped returning my calls. I later discovered that Brooke had been telling her version of events to anyone who would listen. She painted herself as a victim and me as a predator, hiding behind a friendly face. Neighbors who had known me since childhood now crossed the street to avoid eye contact. I hired a lawyer to explore my options. He explained the painful reality of my situation. There was no physical evidence on either side. No security cameras covered the garage. Brooke had not reported anything to the police or sought medical attention. It was her word against mine, and in the court of public opinion, I had already been convicted. Within 3 months, I could no longer afford my apartment. My savings drained away, paying legal fees and covering living expenses without income. I sold my place and moved into a small studio apartment on the other side of the city, a place where no one knew my name or my shame. The first year was the hardest. I found work at a smaller tech company that did not do thorough background checks. The salary was half what I used to make, but it kept me alive. I tried reaching out to Derek multiple times. He blocked my number. I wrote letters to my parents explaining my innocence. They returned unopened. Grandma Rose managed to call me once during that year. Her voice was weak, but her spirit remained strong. She told me she did not believe Brooke's story. She said something about that woman never sat right with her. She wished she could do more, but at her age and in her position, she had no influence over the household. She made me promise to stay strong. I promised. 6 months later, I received a call from a cousin I barely knew. Grandma Rose had passed away from a heart attack. The funeral was the previous day. No one had told me. No one had given me the chance to say goodbye to the only person in my family who believed in me. I drove to the cemetery alone that night and sat by her grave until sunrise. I told her I was sorry. I told her I would prove her right someday. The second year blurred into a haze of depression. I stopped leaving my apartment except for work. I stopped eating regular meals. I stopped caring about anything. The weight of injustice pressed down on me every single day. I had been erased from my own family based on a lie I could not disprove. My only lifeline was Travis. We had worked together at my old company before everything fell apart. He was at the birthday party that night. More importantly, he remembered something crucial. He told me he had been waiting to talk to me when I went to the garage. He checked his watch because he needed to leave soon. He knew for a fact that I was only gone for about 2 minutes. No one could commit the act Brooke described in 2 minutes. Travis believed me, and his belief kept me breathing. During the 3rd year, I started seeing a therapist. She helped me understand that my worth was not determined by what others believed about me. She taught me coping mechanisms for the rage and grief that threatened to consume me. Slowly, I began to function again. I started exercising. I ate better. I allowed myself to hope even if that hope felt foolish. Travis stayed in touch with some people from our old social circle. Through those connections, he heard interesting news. Derek and Brooke's marriage was falling apart. Apparently, Derek had discovered that Brooke had been hiding significant credit card debt. He also found out she had lied about her family background and her education. The perfect image was cracking. I listened to this news without feeling satisfaction. I just felt tired. Tired of carrying a burden that was never mine to bear. On a Friday evening, 3 years after the party that destroyed my life, Travis called me with urgency in his voice. He had been at a bar with some mutual acquaintances when he ran into Natalie Brooke's younger sister. Natalie was 26 and had always seemed uncomfortable around Brooke. That night she was several drinks deep and uncharacteristically talkative. Travis bought her another drink and let her vent. She complained about her sister's selfishness, about how Brooke always manipulated everyone around her to get what she wanted. Then Natalie said something that made Travis's heart stop. She said Brooke always got what she wanted. She got rid of Maurice because he saw through her. She told Natalie herself that she made the whole thing up. Brooke fabricated the accusation because I was going to convince Derek not to marry her. Natalie had known the truth for 3 years and kept her sister's secret. When Travis relayed this to me, I could not breathe. I could not think. I could not move. 3 years of hell, and someone had known the truth all along. Someone could have cleared my name at any moment, but chose to stay silent. After the shock subsided, clarity replaced confusion. Natalie's second-hand testimony would not be enough. I needed Brooke to admit it herself. I needed proof that could not be disputed or explained away. I asked Travis to arrange a meeting with Natalie. He made it happen 3 days later at a coffee shop across town. I brought Travis with me as a witness. Natalie looked nervous when she saw me. She fidgeted with her cup and avoided my eyes. I did not yell at her. I did not accuse her of being complicit in my destruction. Instead, I told her my story. I described losing my job, my home, my family, and my grandmother. I told her about the depression, the isolation, the years of darkness. I told her about sitting alone at Grandma Rose's grave because no one told me she died. By the time I finished, Natalie was crying. She admitted she had lived with crippling guilt for 3 years. She wanted to tell someone, but Brooke was her sister. Family loyalty kept her silent even when she knew it was wrong. I looked her in the eyes and told her I was not asking her to destroy her sister. I was asking her to help me reclaim my life. I asked if she would help me get Brooke to admit the truth on record. Natalie agreed. She said she needed to be free of this burden as much as I needed to be free of the lie. We developed a plan. Natalie would call Brooke under the guise of sisterly support during her divorce proceedings. She would steer the conversation toward regrets and past actions. Ohio law only requires one party to consent to recording a phone call, and Natalie would be that consenting party. I would record everything. The call happened on a Tuesday night. I sat in my apartment with Travis beside me while Natalie dialed her sister. We listened through the speakerphone as Brooke answered, sounding exhausted and defeated. Derek had filed for divorce. Her carefully constructed world was imploding. Natalie played her role perfectly. She expressed sympathy, asked about the divorce, and gently guided the conversation toward reflection. She asked Brooke if she ever regretted anything, if there were things she wished she could take back. Brooke talked about various regrets, none of them related to me. Natalie pushed further. She mentioned my name. She said she still thought about what happened with me sometimes. Silence stretched across the phone line. Then Brooke sighed deeply. She admitted that sometimes she wondered if it was worth it. Derek was leaving her anyway, and I had been right about her all along. I saw through her from the very beginning. Natalie asked directly if Brooke felt guilty about what she did. Brooke laughed bitterly. She said guilty was not the right word. She said I was going to ruin everything. She heard me telling Derek not to marry her the week before the wedding. She had to do something. It was me or her. Natalie asked point blank if anything actually happened in that garage. Brooke's response came without hesitation. Of course not. She barely touched me. She just needed everyone to hate me more than they would ever hate her. I stopped the recording. My hands were shaking so violently, I nearly dropped my phone. Travis grabbed my shoulders and told me I did it. After 3 years, I finally had proof. I contacted my lawyer the next morning and played him the recording. He confirmed it was legally obtained and admissible. He advised me to share it with my family before considering any legal action. I had a more direct approach in mind. The following Sunday, I drove to my parents' house for the first time in 3 years. I did not call ahead. I did not warn anyone I was coming. I simply walked through the front door during dinner like I had done every Sunday of my childhood. The reaction was immediate. Derek shot up from his chair, his face twisted with anger. My father rose more slowly, his expression hardening into the same disgust I remembered from 3 years before. My mother dropped her fork and stared at me with wide eyes. Brooke sat frozen at the far end of the table, her face pale. My father told me I was not welcome here. Derek demanded that I leave. I held up my hand and asked for 60 seconds of their time. Something in my voice, some quality of calm certainty made them pause. I placed my phone on the dining table and pressed play. The recording filled the room with Brooke's voice. Every word she spoke confirmed my innocence and her deception. Of course not. I barely touched him. I just needed everyone to hate him more than they would ever hate her. When the recording ended, silence consumed the room. My mother covered her mouth with both hands, tears streaming down her face. My father sank into his chair like a man who just received devastating news. Derek stared at Brooke with an expression of absolute betrayal. Brooke tried to deny it. She claimed the recording was taken out of context. She said Natalie set her up. Her excuses sounded hollow and desperate against the weight of her own words. Derek turned to her slowly. His voice was barely above a whisper when he spoke. 3 years, he said. She let him hate his own brother for 3 years. He told her to get out of his house immediately. I watched my family crumble under the truth, and I felt nothing like the satisfaction I once imagined. There was only emptiness and exhaustion. I spoke before leaving. I told them I did not come for an apology. I came so they would know the truth. What they did with it was their choice. I turned and walked toward the door. My father caught up with me on the porch. He grabbed my arm and said he was sorry. His voice cracked on the words. I looked at him, this man who once built a company from nothing, reduced to tears by his own failure as a father. I told him sorry does not give me back 3 years, but it was a start. In the weeks following that dinner, my phone rang constantly. My mother left voicemails filled with apologies and pleas to talk. Derek sent long text messages trying to explain how Brooke had manipulated him. My father wrote me a letter, something he had never done in my entire life. I did not respond to any of it. Not immediately. I needed time to process the strange mixture of vindication and grief that filled my chest. I had spent 3 years dreaming of this moment, imagining how it would feel to prove my innocence. The reality was more complicated than my fantasies. I continued seeing my therapist twice a week. She helped me understand that forgiveness was a process, not an event. She reminded me that I had every right to set boundaries with my family, even if they were genuinely remorseful. Healing did not require me to pretend the past 3 years never happened. Travis remained my rock throughout this period. Our friendship had deepened through shared adversity. He was the brother I chose, the one who stood by me when my blood family abandoned me. I told him that often, and I meant it every time. 3 months after revealing the truth, I agreed to meet Derek for coffee. He looked different, older. The confidence he always carried had been replaced by something more humble and broken. He told me about finalizing his divorce from Brooke. He told me how the revelation of her lie forced him to re-examine every aspect of their relationship. He discovered layer after layer of deception he had been blind to for years. Derek cried as he apologized. Real tears, the kind he shed as a teenager when our dog died. He asked me how he could ever make this right. I listened to everything he said, and then I gave him my honest answer. I told him I forgave him. I meant that. Holding on to anger would only poison my own life further. But I also told him our relationship would never be the same. Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy. We would need to start over slowly, carefully, with no guarantees of where we might end up. My parents received similar conversations over the following months. My mother took it hardest. She kept repeating that she should have known. She should have believed me. She should have been my mother first, and Brooke's defender never. I accepted her apologies without dismissing her guilt. She needed to carry that weight for a while. It was part of her own healing. My father expressed regret in his own gruff way. He was a man who built things with his hands, not his words. But he showed up. He started calling me every week. He invited me to job sites to see his latest projects. These small gestures meant more than any elaborate apology could. 1 year after the truth emerged, I made a decision that surprised everyone, including myself. I accepted a job offer in another city, a fresh start in a place where no one knew my history. My family protested at first, but they understood. Some wounds heal better with distance. I visit Columbus a few times a year now. Sunday dinners have resumed, though they feel different. There is care and caution where there used to be easy familiarity. We are rebuilding, but we are building something new, not restoring what was lost. That distinction matters. I started dating again in my new city. I met a woman named Jenna who listened to my entire story on our 3rd date and did not run away. She said my experience showed her what kind of person I truly was. Someone who endured injustice without becoming bitter. Someone who fought for truth without seeking revenge. I am not sure I deserve such generous interpretation, but I am grateful for her presence in my life. As for Brooke, I heard she moved to another state after the divorce. Her reputation in the interior design community was destroyed once the full story spread. Mutual acquaintances told me she struggled to find work and eventually left the industry entirely. I feel nothing when I hear these updates. Not satisfaction, not pity, not anger. She simply does not occupy space in my thoughts anymore. That absence of feeling is its own kind of freedom. I still visit Grandma Rose's grave whenever I return to Ohio. I sit beside her headstone and tell her about my life. I tell her she was right about Brooke from the beginning. I tell her I wish she could have seen the truth come out. I tell her I am okay now, really okay, not just surviving, but actually living. I like to think she hears me somehow. If there is one lesson I carry from these years, it is this. One lie can destroy a lifetime of trust. But the truth, no matter how long it takes, always finds its way to the surface. The truth does not need to shout. It only needs patience and persistence. And when it finally speaks, it speaks loudly enough for everyone to hear. To anyone watching who has experienced something similar, I want you to know this. Do not give up. Do not let their lie become your identity. Keep living, keep fighting, keep being the person you know you are. The world will try to define you by accusations and rumors. Refuse that definition. Hold on to your truth even when no one else believes it. Because one day the truth will speak. And when it does, you need to be there to hear it. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been wrongly accused of something? How did you handle it? What helped you get through? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is going through their own battle right now. If this story touched you in any way, please hit that like button. It helps more than you know. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. You never know whose life you might impact by spreading these words. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing that truth matters. I wish you peace in whatever battle you are fighting right now. I wish you the strength to keep going when everything feels impossible. And I wish you the joy of vindication when your moment finally comes. Take care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one.